Hello my friends and welcome to the forest. October month is one of my most favorite because you see the nature, it's fantastic. Some of the leaves under feet. Yeah, I understand that soon it's gonna be snowy, very cold, but now still with a light jacket it's pretty much okay. So I was wondering what to tell you today in my vlog, and I saw one of the videos recently from one of the Russian oppositioner who lives in United States of America, and he asked Ukrainians were they okay with one of the videos. Well, in this video he showed a Russian soldier, basically occupier, who was kaputted by Ptahi Magyara, so Magyar bird, somewhere on the front lines. And the occupier, by the way, was armed with Kalashnikov. The only bad thing that happened to him that he was kaputted by a drone drop. So he was lying there on the ground with feet lying somewhere close to him. He was bleeding. Yeah, sorry for telling you that, but this topic sometimes I hear even from my viewers, from my followers on YouTube and also on Telegram channel, where sometimes I could post those kind of the videos with some certain restrictions, like you first need to unblock the video and then watch it. I always warn that it's a sensitive content, so it's better not to watch this stuff. But anyways, that particular Russian soldier, as it happens with many more, was dying. His insides were out, legs, as I say to you, were not connected to the body. So he was bleeding in agony. He took his Kalashnikov, somehow he put himself up front on the lower part of the body, and he kaputted from Kalashnikov, made the self-kaput, self-flatlining or self-zeroing. So it is pretty much a standard picture for Russians to have on the front lines if they are kaputted by Ukrainian drones. The destiny is, in 90% of the cases, is the same. Severe wounds and disability, or total KA. In most of the cases, total KA, because drones are very, very lethal weaponry. And that Russian oppositioner, I believe that he's really a Russian oppositioner, because on his channel he tells lots of the bad stuff towards Putin, towards Russian regime. So he asked his Ukrainian subscribers, and there are lots of the Ukrainians who subscribe for him. I know that many of the Ukrainians subscribe for the Russian opposition channels, and I also subscribe for that guy and many others, and also subscribe for Russian Z channels just to receive the information also from their side. But I have to do it because it's my journalist career, so I need to follow every sort of the topic also published in Z media propaganda. So that influencer asked if we are okay as Ukrainians that the funny music or happy music was playing on the background together with this Gore kind of the image, and the music was similar to Benny Hill, something like very funny. And with the look of this Russian oppositioner who told about it, it was understandable that he is very, very uncomfortable about this stuff, about people making fun of someone's death. Well, honestly, seeing any sort of the living creature in agony, bleeding, in pain, it's kind of disturbing. And even for me, it is disturbing, yes. And I understand how painful that death really is. A very, very terrible death. Those Russians who think that they will be kaputted at once by Ukrainian drones or artillery shell, no, it is not usually happening like that. They struggle, they suffer, they burn alive. There are lots of the videos how their munitions spark and they basically cannot move because they're paralyzed, because the shrapnel hit their arms, legs, so they lie and they burn down alive. It's a terrible, terrible way how they finish their lives. But at the same time, I'm okay with that music and with this stuff to be shown, at least on Telegram channels with low censorship, also on X or Twitter, it's better to say. And let me tell you why. Well, first of all, and it's the main reason, Russians receive their pay back. So particular Russian who signed a contract with the Russian army and now they hire just volunteers, it is a personal choice of the Russian soldier to go and kill people in Ukraine. So the fact that he lost his life in Ukraine, this fact actually is good. So I am happy about it. Why am I happy? Because he will not kill Ukrainians any longer. And knowing what Russians usually do to Ukrainians, also civilians, how they rape even kids, we know it from Bucha case. Bucha is just a single name, yeah, because it's good for your ear to understand Bucha. But then we speak about Bucha, it is understandable that Russian atrocities and Russian war crimes happen not in a single spot, not in a single small settlement. No, they did everything of that and continue to do in entire Ukraine. In Bucha it was just evident incident, then Russians left, like real evidence was presented, satellite images, and this word went to the hearts of many of the people around the world. So the more Russian soldiers are being flatlined in Ukraine by any sort of the means, drone drops, artillery, bullets, whatsoever, the better it is for Ukraine and in general for humanity, because those are just war criminals who go and do barbarian stuff. And it's not just about Ukraine. Give them the will and they would do the same stuff in Poland, Baltics, elsewhere. This is the Russian culture. Moreover, Putin himself is encouraging for those kind of the acts, because his favorite brigade is 155th Marine Brigade that did all of those atrocities in Bucha. Yes, it's not just about that brigade, many of the Russians do it, but that specific one, 155th, was involved in those barbarian war crimes in Bucha especially, and also in Izum. By the way, it's the target number one for Ukrainians, and Ukrainians already got rid even of the military command of that brigade. Plus, lots of those Marines were meat-grinded. And my personal story that I lost my nephew, also in Kiev Oblast, not far away from Buzova. My nephew and his father, they tried to leave the area, but they were shot by the Russian BMP or BTR, well, 30 or 25 millimeter caliber, as the police told to us. And it was understandable after a few months that Russians left that area. Before we thought that they died because of the car crash, but later on it was uncovered, and car itself was uncovered that Russians killed them. So I lost my nephew like that. So for me, seeing the Russian soldiers struggling without legs or something, bleeding, with my heart I understand that it's a living creature, pain and everything, but with my mind I also understand what they could do and what they do in Ukraine. So in general, I don't have those kind of the sad feelings. Maybe I'm even happy because they will not do the harm they did to my relative, for example. And I understand, for example, parents who lost their children because of the Russian strikes, which continue, yeah? By the way, Russia is preparing one more today, one more massive attack, because they send their strategic aviation close to Ukraine. So 100% those who lost their loved ones, they would be happy to hear that happy music, because this event is happy for them, because they seek for revenge, and those are the Russian volunteers, ruble millionaires, who came to Ukraine to kill Ukrainians. So it is understandable that every death of those guys, it is cheerful for Ukrainians. For me as well, that's why our drone operators they understand it, and they put this happy music, because we're all happy that they kaput. And now the second part of the story, the way they kaput with all of that nasty stuff, yeah, blood and everything, and why people publish this disgusting stuff. Also, sometimes, as I say to you, I publish it on my channel. It's not the main topic. I usually do not show that gore content, no, but sometimes I publish it because I know that Russians are following me as well. My Telegram group, there are lots of the Russian trolls, bots, and they see what is happening, yeah, on the front lines. They see their soldiers being annihilated. I hope I spelled this word correctly. And from that perspective, the more painful that end of the Russian soldier, the more possible that the next Russian who thought, okay, I'm gonna go to the Russian army to earn some money, so he would not go there, because he sees what is being published on those Telegram groups. Okay, the guy was suffering for half an hour and later on he managed just to kaput himself with one arm left. Well, I guess that in this case, even for a single cell organism, it would be understandable on level of instincts that something is going wrong with Russian soldiers in Ukraine. That is better not maybe to take those million rubles and to save own life and not to die in that horrific way. And from that perspective, of course, it's a good thing that Ukrainian groups publish those kind of the videos. Russians also publish those, but Ukrainian soldiers, they don't have the option to go somewhere and fight for those million rubles. No, the option for Ukrainian soldiers is to defend own country. For Russia, it's totally different motivation. You understand, yeah? Just money. That's the real thing that drives them, and Russian propaganda also working in that stuff, that for the money which you may earn in the Russian army, you may purchase absolutely everything. And the money are definitely crazy. As for Russia, yeah, 50,000, 60,000, it's usual money which Russia gives right away to contract soldiers. crazy, absolutely. But the end for them is pretty much fast, and what we see on those drone videos, definitely it is happening like that. Magyar himself publishes Yoblik Dня, so kaput of the day, showing a single Russian soldier being absolutely dismantled and dismembered. But he understands that lots of the Russians, they're watching him, that's why he publishes those kind of the videos. And also for those Ukrainians who lost everything, relatives, houses, and their previous life, obviously this event is cheerful. And the funny happy music in the background makes it even more cheerful. Yes, there is hatred in Ukrainian society towards Russians, but it is normal because it's the full-scale war, and it's usual for every sort of the war, especially that kind of barbarian. And we understand that Russians just do not behave normally in this war, mainly. But you know, most of all from the Russian army man, I dislike, or I may say hate, Russian military pilots because they bombed civilians a lot. At the very beginning of the war, they dismantled Mariupol and also theater with the kids. It was written in front of the theater that there are kids inside. Nevertheless, Russian bombers especially dropped the bombs right on top on Ukrainian kids. Yeah, we have some helicopter flying there. Yeah, so I just hate them. And I hope that one day they will be revenged by Ukraine. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this channel. It's the trash one. Nevertheless, I like to film content for you. And also thank you for your continuous support of my job that I do on YouTube. By the way, if you have your own topics, any sort of the topics, you may type your comment underneath in this video and I'll read it. And maybe if I like this topic, I'll film the video about it. And now, my friends, stay awesome. Ciao.